Hi there. Because my people keep telling me I need to video blog more often, I thought I'd share some of my thoughts in regards to what's happening in our industry around the concept of consumerization of IT. So, in short, what's happening is people like you and me, employees of businesses or government entities, are no longer accepting that the devices we're allowed to use to do our jobs are going to be dictated or legislated by IT and or the company for that matter. Now, I have a small company. 2 years ago, we were 100% Windows, so I bought a Mac. I listened to all the reasons why our shop couldn't support a Mac. And guess what happened? We support the Mac now. And that's what's happening everywhere. Little companies, big companies, it doesn't matter. Where IT used to be able to say, you can only use this phone or this laptop or this tablet, and they never said this tablet because there was no such thing. Now people are going to use whatever it is that makes them the most productive and maybe more importantly, the most comfortable. IT is going to be forced to adapt. These are the facts, and that's what we have to deal with, like it or not. I don't make the rules. In the online file sharing and collaboration space, ESG's Terry McClure opened my eyes to what she calls IT's consumerization compliance conundrum, which, to paraphrase, is a relatively simple concept of who owns the data. If a user keeps corporate data outside of corporate IT's control and then leaves the company, what does IT do about it? The real answer is it doesn't do squat. For example, whether an employee stores sensitive contact information on their phone, a design spec on their iPad, or a pile of proprietary documents out at Box or Dropbox or any of the other online file guys, what happens to that very valuable, very sensitive stuff when an employee leaves? There's no way back for IT. This is not an issue that is going to get better, or this is not going to be an issue that we're going to legislate, thou shalt stop. This is an issue that IT is going to have to absolutely deal with. So in a catastrophic but maybe more common set of scenarios that exemplify these issues, let's talk about how good old data protection and consumerization will affect it. Or to be more accurate, maybe we should talk about what won't be affected, because that list is ultimately going to be shorter. IT still doesn't own backup of laptops and even often desktops. It pushes that responsibility to the user. Put your stuff on this file server and we'll back it up. And guess what? That's going to go out the window if it ever worked to begin with. So as long as your people are going to be creating contacts or content on endpoints, it's going to have to be dealt with. You can't just leave it up to the user to do the right thing. You can't ask me to do the right thing. I'm not going to. You can't legislate or mandate behavior. You have to deal with it centrally without impacting their lives. Because IT, you're going to lose that battle. If you're going to do anything on an end device, it needs to be done completely transparently and completely automatically. Users shouldn't even know that it's happening to them. So you have to deal with the fact that users will access their stuff from many different devices. You're not going to be able to restrict it, or you, IT, will become an impediment to business, and we all know how that ultimately ends up. So by default, endpoints are mobile devices at the fringes of IT's reach, leaving them exposed or making them difficult to protect in the very best scenario. Worse is they contain stuff that competitors and bad guys would love to have. So you can't just talk about backup to protect these devices. You have to talk about things like security or access control. There are all sorts of other areas that are getting forced together when we talk about protection. It ain't going to work if it's just backing up a laptop, because those days are in. First of all, let's face it, those days haven't worked right yet. They're certainly not going to work right in the future when we just compound and overcomplicate these things even more. So you need to deal with things like encryption. You need to be able to, from a central location, totally wipe out a device. I don't care what the device is that falls into the wrong hands remotely. I need to nuke a laptop or an iPad or a telephone from where I sit in my control point at IT. I need to ensure that you have Apple-like Find My Device functions for all of your devices that happen to get lost because we lose stuff. Right? You can't have billions of files on millions of devices out there and think that you can only spend your time and money on search functions within the enterprise. Just as another example, there's no more enterprise, right? You got to get that concept completely out of your head. The enterprise is everywhere, and worse, it moves. Stop thinking like you can contain any of these problems to within your four walls, because you don't have four walls anymore. You need to know every place a file or an object exists right now. And if you don't believe me on that one, go ask corporate counsel. There are solutions beginning to emerge, but they're not your granddad's way of doing things. You need to prepare yourself to deal with out of the box thinking. Stop looking at your traditional vendors or traditional solutions to solve really non traditional problems. You got to look to find integrated solutions that allow the centralization of control, the things that are really, really important for the entity. Some of the things that I have just raised, and there's tons more, and be able to create automation and policies and enforce those things upon I'm going to say an unsuspecting user. And by that, I simply mean not that they're not signing up for it, but by that I mean that user, you can't interrupt their life, their workflow, their life flow, maybe is a better term. You're going to affect what you need done. You're going to keep control of corporate data. You're going to keep those things secure. You're going to protect your entity to the best of your ability, but you're not going to interrupt the life flow in the way that that person operates and works. And that's one of the biggest differences between yesterday's IT and tomorrow's virtual workspace, if you will. So there is no panacea. There is no perfect answer that is right now, but the problems are real and they're getting bigger every single day. These, just for example, who 3 years ago even dealt with these issues? Nobody did, right? Because IT simply said, here's the list of stuff you can buy. It includes exactly one laptop. Ready? Go ahead and get it. Those days are gone. Right? In the last 6 months, you've seen those days are gone. People are running out to box or to drop, and they're doing things from within your organization, but they're all outliers, right? And they're doing these things for not necessarily to be evil. Some are, but most of them are not. They're doing them because it positively affects their ability to transact their businesses. So we have to be able to support that stuff. So it's time to look. The problems are going to continue to magnify themselves and get bigger. We will see calamities out there. We will. It is a fact. I hope it's not you, but it will be somebody. You're going to have to start coming up with answers, not even for your own mistakes, but because somebody else has made mistakes and it made it into the Wall Street Journal. It's time to start talking about reality and thinking about the future. Other than that, have a great day.